To me, I don't think we need a moratorium, and I can't sort of figure out how that legally should be accommodated and structured up. But year-on-year growth in the Bali market is 25%, which is exceptional. But I don't think he means that we're going to see high-rise buildings like Hong Kong and Singapore. I think what he means is that he wants Bali to be and get rid of all this circumvention that happens now in the market where
Hi, good day everyone. My name is Essly, one of real estate consultant of 7 Stars Indonesia. And joining me here, there is Pak Terje as CEO of 7 Stones Indonesia. How are you, Pak?
I'm good, thank you. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm good. So today we're gonna discuss about one of controversial topic at the moment, which is hotel and villas moratorium in Bali. And perhaps our audience still don't know yet about what does moratorium means. And could you please, Pak, to explain about what does it means and what the causes of the moratorium?
Sure. I guess we can start with what a moratorium is. A moratorium basically means that there's a full stop on a certain type of buildings or facilities. And as many knows, maybe not everyone, is that 18th of October, the Ministry of Maritime and Investment, Coordinating Minister of Maritime and Investment Affairs, issued a letter instructing other ministries and the government of Bali to try to accommodate or set up a moratorium for basically Badung, Tabanan, and Gianyar.
Yeah.
I think the motivation for that is many. Maybe they think that, or feel that the development is a little bit out of control and they want to try to tighten it up. But if we go back to the actual moratorium, what a lot of people don't know is that 2 days later, this particular ministry no longer exists. So the Ministry of Maritime, Coordinating Ministry of Maritime and Investment is gone. It doesn't exist. Okay. So we used to have 4 coordinating ministry. Prabowo now has 7, and this ministry is dissolved. It's gone. Which then you would think that letter is void as well from a legal perspective. I think there's a few other reasons for why now it's difficult to sort of figure out where that goes. But this is what we would call a SK Menteri, or a sort of letter from a minister towards the governor. Actually, the moratorium decision, or if anyone, is actually in the hands of the governor. So the governor, interim, that applied for a moratorium to the central government, I think, should have just done it or not asking the central to execute it. But we look since then that ministry is dissolved, and there's many reasons for that. We can talk about political reasons and all kinds of other reasons. But when we look at a few things, there's now soon a pilkada, as we'll say, or a regional election in Bali with 2 candidates running for governor, and obviously several candidates running for all the bupatis, the regencies. None of them are talking about a moratorium. And I think the last aspect of that was when Prabowo, the new president, was here. I think it was on last Sunday. Yeah. He didn't mention the moratorium with one word. He talked an awful lot about infrastructure, new airports, pushing for maybe more developments up north. So that to me indicates that this is a topic that will fade away. To me, I don't think we need a moratorium, and I can't sort of figure out how that legally should be accommodated and structured up. But I think what we really need is just enforcement of existing regulations, because Bali has what we call tata ruangan or RT/RW, zoning regulations that was last revised in October 2023. So there's a clear zoning plan. What we need to make sure is that people actually follow that. So a green belt is a green belt, farming land is farming land, LSD is LSD, residential is residential, tourism is tourism, and so on. And then I think a lot of other regulations that also needs to be better enforced, like PBG, SLF, the build permit, taxation of PMAs. Today I think there's a lot of questionable aspects going on in the business, and I think the government will definitely do that, be a lot stricter forward with all these regulations. So that, I think, will be the outcome.
Yeah, I think I agree that it's because it's related to land zoning as well, and strict regulation. And then let's jump into another question. I've heard a lot of people out there asking about, is Bali now in over-tourism condition or over-supply hotel and villas or accommodation? What do you think, Pak?
Well, I think there's a few ways to look at that. I think if you look at just figures in terms of tourist arrivals, domestic and also foreigners, it's all-time high, even overtaking pre-COVID rates. And then you have an awful lot of what we would call residential or semi-residential people that live here for a large part of the year. So if you put all those figures together with the sort of average time that a tourist stays or these people staying, with the supply of stock, there is not enough rooms. And I was just this morning talking with another partner of ours who is into data. They provide data on everything, building, rental market, what's out there. And they conclude that year-on-year growth in the Bali market is 25%, which is exceptional. Obviously, we have problems. We have problems with a few things. Water, which is, in particular along Canggu, Kuta, partly also the Bukit, where there's been just too much well drilling. And we have problems with infrastructure, but the last, I think, is being worked on. We can already see in particular in Bandung, but also partly Tabanan, Gianyar. I don't go there that much, so I don't know. But there's an awful lot of upkeep of roads going on. And we know that, the subway or underground LRT is coming. We know the toll road is coming, possibly a new airport, even though that's probably going to take 10 years. But I think that all these components will come together. And I think then the government will try to push the tourism out to other areas, Jembrana, Singaraja, Karangasem, and also these other areas to disperse it better.
So there is no over-tourism or oversupply villa and hotel, right?
I think it's more like some funny observations on this when we look at airport now is soon reaching its capacities. Obviously, we can't get more people in regardless of what we do unless they start coming in cars. But I don't know if you remember during last Lebaran, maybe you went home, I don't know, but there was more tourists in Bali then than any time before. There was no traffic, meaning, all the Gojek drivers, and by all means they need to make a living, and all the, bikes that creates the traffic, they were gone. So there is also maybe a vehicle management, something like that needs to be looked at too.
Yes, I agree on that.
Yeah.
And then I also heard about this moratorium itself that maybe in the future affect Bali's economy. And what do you think? How is moratorium affecting Bali's economy?
Well, I think it's when you talk to people on the street or Balinese out and about, and I'm sure you talk to them too, they have no interest in this because 80% of Bali's economy, in good and bad, obviously comes or is generated from tourism income, whether that is tax revenue, labor, whatever it is. So a moratorium, I think, would have quite a detrimental impact on the economy for quite some time. And I don't think it'll happen. I just think that the general regulations, enforcements will come a lot stricter. Okay,
we were talking about the economy, Bali's economic itself, but how about developer and government? How does this moratorium affect them?
Well, I guess developers then have to stop. They can't do developments. They may go to other regions, or they may go outside of Bali, to do developments in Flores or Lombok or other areas. But obviously, again, that would impact labor force, tax revenues for the government, everything. Yeah.
Okay. Do you think that this moratorium already applicable at the moment, and is it really comes to a halt or being stopped by government, or what do you think about this part?
There is nothing in effect. So there's no moratorium. There's an awful lot of what do we call it, gossip going on out there, where people say, the OSS system is turned off. In Ubud, they've stopped applications for PBG, SLF. This may be system-related aspect. This may be, maintenance or other reasons, but it's got nothing to do with a moratorium. There's no moratorium in place at all.
Okay, at the moment. And how about in the future? Is it really affecting us, or it's just?
I guess there is always a risk that someone will come up with that. And I think what goes on now is that there's a lot of studies undertaken between universities, World Bank, and so on to sort of try to come up with, I guess, a roadmap for Bali's tourism. Where do they want to go? Quality tourism, infrastructure, what's the problem, how do we fix it, and so on. And with that, then we can get into an action plan. But we know that Bali has done moratoriums before. I can remember this back in whenever that Badung stopped permits for new hotels. But what happened then, it just changed to conhotels. So in effect, there was actually no impact of that.
Okay, what is the benefit and the consequences about this moratorium itself to Bali?
Well, if it did happen, I think it would help Bali to maybe take a deep breath and sort of figure out what it needs to do. I think too long we've sort of postponed infrastructure developments, roads, again the LRT and so on, and it would have given us time to develop some of those facilities and possibly some time to figure out where to go with it all. But again, personally, I can't see that happen.
I think this moratorium is like government wants to make a property market in Bali is more healthier, right, and more. It's really going to be okay with everything that's going on right now, but at the moment there's a benefit and consequences, of course, right?
Yeah, I think the Balinese government and where they go with this is up to them, and I think we will, like you're saying, the central government is kind of setting a signal with this. It's like we've had it, if that makes sense, with all the issues that goes on, green belts being built on, people building without build permit, PMAs not paying the relevant taxes, and so on and so on. So I think that will come where the central, provincial, and regencies will put together what we would call a satgas, teams to discipline this and actually maybe visit villas door to door to uncover what it is and who pays what in terms of taxes, do you have the proper permits, and so on and so on.
Yes, exactly. So previously we were talking about a moratorium, but with the legal aspects and the benefits and the consequences, right? And how about the investor? For the investor, how should investor do to adjust about these new changes, that moratorium? What do you suggest?
I think they should have a plan A, plan B. Plan A meaning business as usual, but plan B, if it happens, then what do we do, right? So then maybe they will pull back a little bit on the investment and hold back until everything is clear. Again, they may go to other regencies in Bali, but they may go to places like Lombok and Flores, which is also good markets, but maybe not as good as Bali from an investment, resale, and ROI perspective.
Yeah. And one question again, Pak, about as a result of this moratorium, are there any new opportunities investment in Bali that coming up next?
Yeah, I think when we again saw the new president, Prabowo, when he was here last week, he actually, again, didn't mention the moratorium with one word, but he talked about making Bali a new Hong Kong, a new Singapore.
Yes, I've heard that.
And that obviously triggered a lot of social media warriors and whatever else, but I don't think he means that we're going to see high-rise buildings like Hong Kong and Singapore. I think what he means is that he wants Bali to be a power center like Singapore and Hong Kong in terms of banking and infrastructure, because what we see with the Indonesian economy and the size of it today in Southeast Asia, Indonesia itself is bigger than the 4 next economies like Malaysia, Vietnam, Thailand, whoever else. So that makes a lot of investment companies like from Hong Kong and other places, obviously they need the right infrastructure to consider setting up offices in Indonesia, because that will be 50% of any market they look at, and then they can travel around the region to Malaysia and Thailand and so on. So that I think will come, and Bali is also talking about becoming a tax haven for that. So that I think is what probably means that it's going to be a strong central point for finance and investments, because now you also have the new capital, that continues it seems, but maybe a little bit slower. You still have Jakarta, but nobody wants to live in Jakarta, so Bali is kind of a good place to people to set up and place their families. Kids can go to school and have a good quality of life while they are running their businesses. Yeah.
And last question, Pak. And what is your advice to the government and the developer and new potential investor regarding to this topic, moratorium? Because this topic is really controversial at the moment.
I think make sure you have your ear on the ground, as we say. You know what's going on and what's coming. But I don't think there's any reason to sort of change too much on strategies. For the government, I think, again, it's, and we wrote a long blog about this and what we think the problem is, and this goes into all the challenges from building permits to taxes to permits to whatever else. That I think would be good if the government can be stricter and enforce this regulation, collect more taxes to go into infrastructure. If you're a PMA, what can you do and not do? What zones can you build and not do? And get rid of all this circumvention that happens now in the market, where anything kind of goes and you can do. And then I think we'll be fine. Things will slow down. It'll be still strong growth and development, but probably in a much better way. Yeah.
Okay, Pak Terje, thank you for your insight. It's really insightful. And then, so this is just a wrap, our conclusion about what we were discussing. So as the important things is you need to stay informed, and then just teamwork with local authorities, and then seeking sustainable business and new investment in Bali. And then once again, thank you, Pak Terje. I really appreciate your time being here. And if you do want to know more about the new latest about business development in Bali or Bali's property market, you can contact us, because Seven Stones is your partner in growth. Thank you. See you in next video. Bye bye.